Welcome to today's reading from the Krishna book. We are on the chapter The Killing of Kamsa, and yesterday we read how Chanur the wrestler he lost his life, and we'll continue from there. Mushtik also struck Balram, and Balram returned the stroke with great force. Mushtik began to tremble and vomit blood. Distressed, he gave up his vital force and fell down just like a tree follows in a hurricane. After the two wrestlers were killed, a wrestler named Kuta came forward. Lord Balram immediately caught him in his left hand and killed him nonchalantly. A wrestler of the name Shala also came forward, and Krishna immediately cracked his head with a kick. A wrestler named Toshal came forward and was killed in the same way. Thus all the great wrestlers were killed by Krishna and Balram, and the remaining wrestlers fled from the assembly out of fear for their lives. All the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balram approached them and congratulated them with great pleasure. While trumpets resounded and drums were beaten, the leg bells on the feet of Krishna and Balram tinkled. All the people gathered there began to clap in great ecstasy, and no one could estimate the bounds of their pleasure. The Brahmanas present began to praise Krishna and Balram ecstatically. Only Krishna was morose. He neither clapped nor offered benediction to. Only Kamsa was morose. He neither clapped nor offered benediction to Krishna. Kamsa resented that the trumpets and drums should be played for Krishna's victory, and he was very sorry that the wrestlers had been killed and had fled the assembly. He therefore immediately ordered the band to stop playing and addressed his men as follows. I order these two sons of Vasudev be immediately driven out of Mathura. The cowherd boys who have come with them should be plundered and their riches taken away. Nanda Maharaj should immediately be arrested and killed for his cunning behavior, and that rascal Vasudev should also be killed without delay. Also my father Ugrasen, who has always supported my enemies against my will, should be killed. When Kamsa spoke in this way, Lord Krishna became very angry with him, and within a second he jumped onto the high dais of King Kamsa. Kamsa was prepared for Krishna's attack, for he knew from the beginning that Krishna was to be the supreme cause of his death. Krishna immediately unsheathed his sword and prepared to answer the challenge of Krishna with sword and shield. As Kamsa wielded his sword up and down, hither and thither, Lord Krishna, the supreme powerful Lord, caught hold of him with great force. The supreme personality of Godhead, who is also the shelter of the complete creation, and from whose lotus navel the whole creation is manifested, immediately knocked the crown from the head of Kamsa and grabbed his long hair in his hand. He then dragged Kamsa from his seat to the wrestling dais and threw him down. Then Krishna at once straddled his chest and began to strike him over and over again. Simply from the strokes of his fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. To assure his parents that Kamsa was dead, Lord Krishna dragged him just as lion drags an elephant after killing it. When people saw this, there was a great roaring sound from all sides as some spectators expressed their jubilation and others cried in lamentation. From the day Kamsa had heard he would be killed by the eighth son of Devaki, he was always thinking of Krishna with his wheel in hand. And because he was very much afraid of his death, he was thinking of Krishna in that form 24 hours a day without stopping. The wheel here is the Sudarshan Chakra in Krishna's hand. Even while eating, while walking, and while breathing, and naturally he got the blessing of liberation. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sada tad bhava bhavitaha. A person gets his next life according to the thoughts in which he is always absorbed. Kamsa was always thinking of Krishna with his wheel, which means Narayan, who holds a wheel, conch shell, lotus flower, and club. According to the opinion of authorities, Kamsa attained Sarupya Mukti after death. That is to say, he attained the same form as Narayan. or Vishnu. In the Vaikuntha planets, all the inhabitants have the same bodily features as Narayan. After his death, Kamsa attained liberation and was promoted to the Vaikuntha Lok. From this instance, we can understand that even a person who thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enemy gets liberation or a place in a Vaikuntha planet. So, what to speak of the pure devotees who are always absorbed in favorable thoughts of Krishna? Even an enemy killed by Krishna gets liberation and is placed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good, anyone thinking of him either as an enemy or as a friend gets liberation. But the liberation of the devotee and the liberation of the enemy are not same. The enemy generally gets the liberation of Sayujya and sometimes he gets Sarupya liberation. Kamsa had 8 brothers headed by Kanaka, all of them younger than he. And when they learned that their elder brother had been killed, they combined together and rushed towards Krishna in great anger to kill him. Kamsa and his brothers were all Krishna's maternal uncles, brothers of Krishna's mother Devaki. When Krishna killed Kamsa, he killed his maternal uncle, which is against the regulations of Vedic injunctions. Although Krishna is independent of all Vedic injunctions, he violates the Vedic injunctions only in inevitable cases. Krishna could not be killed by anyone but Kamsa could not be killed by anyone but Krishna. Therefore, Krishna was obliged to kill him. But as far as Kamsa's 8 brothers were concerned, Balram took charge of killing them. Balram's mother Rohini, although the wife of Vasudeva, was not the sister of Kamsa. Therefore, Balram took charge of killing all the Kamsa's 8 brothers. He immediately took up an available weapon, most probably the elephant's tusk which he carried, and killed the 8 brothers one after the other. Just as a lion kills a flock of deer, Krishna and Balram thus verified the statement that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in order to give protection to the pious and to kill the impious demons who are always enemies of the demigods. The demigods from the higher planetary systems showered flowers, congratulating Krishna and Balram. Among the demigods were powerful personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and all joined together in showing their jubilation over Kamsa's death. There were beating of drums and showering of flowers from the heavenly planets, and the wives of the demigods danced in ecstasy. The wives of Kamsa and his 8 brothers were aggrieved at the sudden death of their husband, and all of them struck their foreheads and shed torrents of tears, crying loudly and embracing the bodies of their husbands which lay on the wrestling dais. The wives of Kamsa and his brothers lamented, addressing the dead bodies, "Our dear husbands, you were so kind and are the protectors of your dependents. Now, after your death, we are also dead. Along with your homes and children, we no longer look auspicious on account of your death. The auspicious functions to take place, such as the sacrifice of the bow, have been spoiled. Our dear husbands, you treated persons ill who were faultless, and as a result, you have been killed. This is inevitable because a person who torments an innocent person must be punished by the laws of nature. We know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. He is the Supreme Master and Supreme Enjoyer of everything. Therefore, one who neglects his authority can never be happy, and ultimately, as you have, he meets death. Since Krishna was kind and affectionate to his aunts, he solaced them as far as possible. The ritualistic ceremonies performed after death were only conducted under the personal supervision of Krishna because he happened to be the nephew of all the dead princes. After finishing this business, Krishna and Balram immediately released their father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, who had been imprisoned by Kamsa. Krishna and Balram fell at their parents' feet and offered them prayers. Vasudeva and Devaki had suffered so much trouble from Kamsa because Krishna was their son. Devaki and Vasudeva were fully conscious of Krishna's exalted position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although Krishna touched their feet and offered them obeisances and prayers, they did not embrace him, but simply stood up to hear the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Krishna was born as their son, Vasudeva and Devaki were always conscious of his position as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 44th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Kamsa. Chapter 45. Krishna recovers the son of his teacher. When Lord Krishna saw Vasudeva and Devaki standing in reverential attitude, he immediately expanded his influence of Yogamaya so that they could treat him and Balram as his children. As in the material world, the relationship existing between father and mother and children can be established among different entities by the influence of their illusory energy. So by the influence of Yogamaya, the devotee can establish a relationship in which Supreme Personality of Godhead is his child. After creating this situation by his Yogamaya, Krishna appearing with his elder brother Balaram as the most illustrious son in the dynasty of the Satvatas were very submissively and respectfully addressed Vasudeva and Devaki. My dear father and mother, although you have always been anxious for the protection of our lives, you could not enjoy the pleasure of having us as your babies, as your growing boys, and as your adolescent youths. Krishna indirectly praised the fatherhood of Nanda Maharaj and motherhood of Yashoda as most glorious because although he and Balram were not born their sons, Nanda and Yashoda actually enjoyed their childhood pastimes. By nature's own arrangement, the childhood of the embodied living being is enjoyed by his parents. Even in the animal kingdom, parents are found to be affectionate to their cubs. Being captivated by the activities of their offsprings, they take so much care for their well-being. As for Vasudeva and Devaki, they were always anxious for the protection of their sons, Krishna and Balram. That is why Krishna, after his appearance, was immediately transferred to another's house. Balram was also transferred from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb. Vasudeva and Devaki were full of anxieties for Krishna and Balram's protection, but they could not enjoy their childhood pastimes. Krishna said, "Unfortunately, being ordered by our fate, we could not be raised by our own parents to enjoy childhood pleasures at home. My dear father and mother, a man cannot repay his debts to his parents from whom he gets his body, which can bestow upon him all the benefits of material existence. According to the Vedic injunctions, this human form of life enables wants to perform all kinds of religious activities, fulfill all kinds of desires, and acquire all kinds of wealth. And only in this human form is there every possibility that one can get liberation from material existence. This body is produced by the combined efforts of father and mother. Every human being should be obliged to his parents and understand that he cannot repay his debt to them. If after growing up a son does not try to satisfy his parents by his actions or by the endowment of riches, he is surely punished after death by the superintendent of death and made to eat his own flesh. If a person is able to care or give some protection to his parents, a chaste wife, children, spiritual master, brahmanas, and other dependents, but does not do so, he is considered already dead, although he is supposedly breathing. My dear father and mother, you have always been anxious for our protection, but unfortunately we could not render any service to you. Until now we have simply wasted our time due to reasons beyond our control. We could not serve you, mother and father. Please excuse us for our sinfulness." When the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking as an innocent boy in very sweet words, Vasudeva and Devaki became captivated by parental affection and embraced him with great pleasure. They were amazed and could not speak or answer the words of Krishna, but simply embraced him and Balaram in great affection and remained silent, shedding incessant tears. Thus, having consoled his father and mother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as the beloved son of Devaki, approached his grandfather Ugrasen and announced that Ugrasen would now be the king of the Yadu kingdom. Kamsa had been forcibly ruling the kingdom of Yadu in spite of the presence of his father, whom he had arrested. After the death of Kamsa, his father was released and announced to be the monarch of the Yadu kingdom. It appears that in those days, in the western part of India, there were many small kingdoms ruled by the Yadu dynasty. Andhak dynasty, Vrishni dynasty, Bhoja dynasty. Maharaj Ugrasen belonged to the Bhoja dynasty. Therefore, Krishna indirectly declared that the king of Bhoja dynasty would be the emperor of other small kingdoms. Krishna willingly asked Maharaj Ugrasen to rule over himself and Balram because they were his subjects. The word Praja is also used both for the progeny and for citizens. So Krishna belonged to the Praja both as a grandson of Maharaj Ugrasen and as a member of the Yadu dynasty. Thus he voluntarily accepted the rule of Maharaj Ugrasen. He informed Ugrasen, being cursed by Yayati, the kings of the Yadu dynasty may not occupy the throne. It will be our pleasure to act as your servants. My full cooperation with you will make your position more exalted and secure, so that the kings of other dynasties will not hesitate to pay their respective revenues. Protected by me, you will be honored even by the demigods from the heavenly planets. My dear grandfather, out of fear my late uncle Kamsa, all the kings belonging to the Yadu, Vrishni, Andhak, Madhu, Dashara and Kukura dynasties were very anxious and disturbed. Now you can pacify them and give them a sense of security. The whole kingdom will be peaceful. So we have seen Kamsa has been killed, and the wrestlers he had arranged for to attack Krishna and Balram, they also were killed. And afterwards Krishna made sure to release his mother, father, grandfather from the prison, and his grandfather Ugrasen, the father of Devaki, he was made the king, and all the small kingdoms were also put under them, including the Yadus. And we will continue from here tomorrow and see from there on where Krishna and Balram will go in Mathura. And this actually we will be reading about the son of their teacher Sandipani Muni. He will be recovered in the rest of the chapter. So I will see you all tomorrow again. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Shamita, for watching with me. Hare Krishna.